So my name is Lisa Bustamante, and this is my English 101 portfolio. Before I start talking about my assignments, I want to talk about this class as a whole. Honestly, because it surprised me a bit. The course this is not my first rodeo going to college, and it's not my first English 101 class. So I wasn't expecting to learn anything different. I thought we would just be talking about argumentative essays and research papers and ethos, pathos, and logos and all the things. And I just figured, okay, I'm just going to do my work. I've already done this, and I'm going to get the best grade I can and move on to my next class. But I was surprised. This class was more than just what I anticipated. It was insightful. It was challenging in the best way. Sometimes uncomfortable having to navigate my life, and my children as I'm a stay-at-home mom. And I'm not sure if you guys can hear the Miss Rachel in the background. So I can entertain my daughter while I do this. But I most of all, I what I took away from this class, and I hope I can show that with the five assignments that I've chosen, is that okay, is that I think I went through a lot of my um academic career thinking that I had to sound as professional, as perfect, and academic as possible. And I think one of the greatest takeaway from this class is how I could use my voice to write honestly, to trust my voice. So the first assignment that I want to talk about, I think, is the one that kind of started the domino effect of how I felt about this class. And it is my free write assignment. So this would be the assignment that surprised me. I chose this piece because it's the first one. I was just juggling life and school, and we were given the opportunity to write about absolutely anything. And I chose this because I was given the opportunity to write anything, and so I wrote without a filter. Um, I didn't expect it to go anywhere deep. Um, and I chose this because cracked something, um, it kind of cracked something in my writing or kind of in the trajectory of what this class would be like. Um, some of the things that why I chose it, like I said, it surprised me. Um, and it just felt very true. It's the truth of what that day was like for me. So I have like a few excerpts of it that make me like one, just it feels like the most me. And it's right at the beginning. Just funny enough, I cried in therapy today, right at the end. Talked about a lot of things. None of them was tear jerking. The flowers, the porch pictures I took of my kids, the discovery that I actually love plants and flowers, the birds, my favorite color, my love of nature. And it's just me, like if I was having a conversation or if I was just venting to someone. Um, and it started a lot, and obviously I wrote a lot. But I it in this piece I'm talking about um my experience with therapy and the things that I'm reflecting on, and what I'm navigating now is motherhood and me living a seemingly stable life and it being difficult, um, because I have so much that I haven't realized, that I haven't processed. I refer to so much that I'm going through as like a wound that feels like it's reopening. So this is another part that kind of feels authentic to me. I'm holding pressure on the wound. What's that saying? Heal yourself so you don't bleed on those who didn't cut you. And I did that long ago. Now the cut is reopened, and I'm busy stopping the blood from spilling onto my children, but it's starting to seep through my fingers. And it's just how it felt. I, and I don't know. It's just like the lines showed me that my writing can hold. In my real day-to-day life, I am always the tough person in the room, and I was finally struggling with what would eventually be the overarching theme and all the things that I'm writing about this semester, and it's that I can be that tough girl, but I don't always want to be, and that it's okay. um, and that brings me to the next assignment, which is the assignment that challenged me. me for a loop. So our the next piece that I would add to my portfolio, um, the piece that changed me is turning the free write I just showed you into an academic essay. Imagine my shock when I realized that what I was ranting about that I thought was just, okay, I'm completing an assignment would turn into a academic essay that I would have to revise like four, five, six times and actually take everything I wrote and pull it and make it something academic. And I was like, of course. And of course I'm sabotaging myself. In true fashion, I would sit here and talk about how I'd be brain dumping about therapy. And now I had to write about it. And I considered like not touching it and maybe talking about I like flowers. Maybe I should talk about gardening. Um, but I saw an opportunity for a challenge and I didn't want to stray from it. It was the hardest assignment for me to do emotionally, academically. I had to research and analyze, and I really struggled in this one um, with the overarching theme from before, like of my experiences in English classes. It's how do I I've been taught to sound academic. I've been taught not to do run on sentences. I live my life on run on sentences. I've been taught that fragments are wrong. I've been taught and just so many things about all the rules and barriers and what's correct and not. And I did not know how I was going to make what I wrote that was deeply personal, that I choose to keep it and just and challenge myself and how I can keep my voice. And that was also part of the assignment, how to keep my voice and write about this and do the topic justice. So it stretched my brain the most. It taught me how to write in depth and not to feel afraid of like my own like I can write something academic and still have my own experience there. Like I don't have to lose myself in making um something academic or something like of substance. And like major life transitions often resurface trauma. And motherhood is one of the most profound transitions that a woman can experience. Parenting a child in the way that you were never raised often feels like reparenting yourself. Our children mirror the needs we've had as children, but weren't allowed to express. Their cries echo our silence one. Their dependence trigger the parts of ourselves that learned that needing anything was dangerous, and that part of surviving is not needing, but being grateful enough for what you have. Um, and it was just pulling so many of these themes of what I was feeling, of what I wrote about, and making it and tying it into evidence and realizing this is normal. This is normal and well studied, and there's research about this, and it made my experience a little bit more real. Um, One of the things I talked about that I touched on a little bit on my free write that I kind of talk more in depth here is about feeling so out of I grew up in the hood in the Bronx and now I'm in the suburbs in Michigan and my children are suburban little children and the discomfort of feeling out of place here. So this little I guess the line here of is kind of wraps that up. So raising children in a world so different from the one that shaped us forces us to confront the parts of ourselves that tell us we're not deserving of softness or leisure or belonging. And I'm learning to push through the discomfort. And so I stay. I advocate and I carve out belonging for my children, even when I'm still learning how to claim it for myself. Um, I'm not going to read it, but I will leave it here. This is my favorite part, and it is like a wrap up of everything that I wrote about. And I get emotional every time reading this last paragraph. Just because it's my truth and it is the conclusion of my truth and this experience. So just anyway, these lines show that I learned how to merge my research with my personal truth and not lose myself in it, but still do the topic justice and truth that's still as emotional as like where the origins of it came from the free write. It was important to me and it was challenging and I struggled and it's still not perfect, but I am sure I could write on this forever and it challenged me so much. An assignment that showed my voice, would I think naturally was the voice showcase. Um, I highlighted a few of the reasons why I chose this as the one that shows my voice. It feels the most alive. I wanted to like it was one of those how can you show and not tell kind of things. And it's about me being 13 and having to care for my brothers. And the moment where I guess the trajectory of my life changed and made me the person I am today. For context, in this piece, my mom had cancer. She was a single mom, and I was the eldest daughter. And she would go to treatment often, and then she was getting surgery. She was getting hysterectomy, and she told me she was gonna, the usual. I'll be back. I'm going to the hospital. Watch out for your brothers, and then she didn't come back, and what that was like. So I was 13 when the world tilted. I was an eighth grader at Xemia's College Preparatory Academy, living up in a brick building in the Bronx where the hallways always smelled faintly of piss and someone else's dinner. The lights flickered like they were tired of trying. Outside my building, the city pulsed, sirens ricocheting off buildings and bachata drifting from passing cars, the bodega bell chiming like a heartbeat. I just wanted to set the scene. If I wanted to close my eyes and remember what it was like what it felt like, what it smelled like growing up in my childhood home in this moment. And I think I did that. And I wrote more because I'm talking about the Bronx. I didn't want to write completely how I would have spoken in that time, but this kind of highlights that. So one day passed. I held it down just like I said I would. Then the next day passed, and the day after that, and the day after that. Her house was that her absence was quiet at first, the kind of quiet you try to explain away. The hours stretched, the quiet grew teeth. It sat in the corners of the apartment, watching me, waiting. No, I really felt like I popped off a little bit. Like, oh, I feel like I could close it. I also know that I'm the one that wrote it, so I can write it how I imagined it. But it felt good to write about something authentic. It reminded me that my background isn't something that's like shameful or something that I had to hide. It's honest, it's Bronx raised, it's sensory. Um, and I don't know. I felt like I did it. Like um I wrote about me. I'm also this doesn't necessarily show my voice, but this last piece right here, also part of like the arc of my story is I was 13 when my world shifted on its axis, when I dropped my childhood cloak and picked up the pieces of armor for adulthood. 13 years old when I found a partner who was still my safe place to land 17 years later. Um, which was the truth. It's my husband, and here I am in Michigan with the boy I met when I was 13 and my our two kiddos. So it's so me. The assignment that shows my skill. I think it would be the most recent one, which was my the writing an email. Um, but I am writing an email about um just a stronger information literacy and critical thinking in the age of AI. One of the things I talked about when I first started this class is I'm realizing that we don't know, or my generation, or I don't know what it is, but I know AI plays a huge part of it. In social media, people don't know how to look at a source and it's correct. This is factual. This is reputable. This makes sense. Um, I can go on all day, but this was a topic that I felt like I could argue. I think it shows my academic and professional writing. It's a formal email, but I definitely use some of my own voice in there and things that I would say um because I wanted to be true to myself. Um and I think I wrote as academically and as professionally as I could without overwhelming him with like, why are we using AI in this college? Do better. Like, It's because it's my personal opinion. So I think I argued my point well. And like this is kind of my main overarching point. Like when students rely on tools that fabricate sources, we're not just dealing with academic shortcuts, we're dealing with the breakdown and the very idea of evidence. My goodness, the way we are bombarded with information medically, politically, our public health systems, and what we're who we're told is the reason why, and the sources that people use is like every time someone wants to argue with me about my political belief and they want to send me a podcast, I am immediately, why are you sending me this? I just or they want to send me a screenshot of it of what ChatGPT had to say about what they believed and there's an authority that AI has as if people believe that this computer can be correct, that as if people didn't make this algorithm, as if it doesn't tell you itself that it makes mistakes, and it does. So I use a lot of real world examples of what's going on politically, and then my own experience, which I wrote in my voice in my the repetition that I have in my voice, but I felt like stuck to the topic and I wrote formally. So we must prepare our students for the real world, where the stakes are high and ever changing. We cannot just accept Gen I as a given at the expense of our scholars' ability to come up with original thoughts, not at the expense of our students' ability to distinguish between false and accurate information, not at the expense of our natural resources or the already precious and limited drinking water, and not at the expense of the ever growing domino effect that Gen AI already has in our political, social, and medical public systems. Um, and honestly, Perry, nothing else to say. But it just shows that I can step into a professional voice and advocate for something that matters, but also stay true to myself and my narrative. Lastly, one of my assignments that I think shows my growth would be, and I'm gonna grab it right here, would be this. Oh, here it is. I made a brochure. I'm naturally a resource person, so a brochure. I am the person you call. Oh, I'm naturally, if you're looking for a job, I'm the person to call. If you're looking, I'm about to go at 11 to help a friend apartment hop. I will send you all the resources. And it occurred to me that I could do that. I can put myself in paper form. I am here for you. I will get you. You're a mom that's struggling, reclaiming your softness. You're in survival mode. You don't know what else to do, where to go. I got you, girl. You're not alone, mom. Like, yeah, we got this. And so I gave um some resources. Every woman's place. I put where I found my therapist. I psychology today. Love Inc., which one of their thrift stores is right down the street from my home, and the community care center, because you have to take care of yourself when you're the caregiver of others. And I'll just wrap this up with how I ended it. You are worthy of the love you give others. This new version of you doesn't need to carry the burden on her own. Set the weight down, hold your children's hand, and walk, and start the walk to finding softness in motherhood. You are not alone. Um, it just and it's a culmination of everything I've learned, the academic areas, the emotional areas, how to write things, and to make it into something useful. To make it useful, to make it, I don't know, to make it matter. So I think it shows my growth. It was a journey of vulnerability and challenge and voice and skill and transformation. And I hate to sound corny and I'm gonna sound corny, but it wasn't just a class. It did make me a better writer. It made me, oh, I hate to admit that it like validated me. It made me feel more confident in my writing. Um, and if it taught me anything, is that the process is the point. Where I started in my life, like in my journey in motherhood versus how I started this class. I was just trying to get through this class. And in motherhood, I was just struggling and learning how to get and starting therapy, and so many things were overlapping. And the process is the point. The process of your life is the point. The process of your experiences, the process of working through an assignment and letting your brain marinate on what you're doing it without AI, doing the thinking for you. So it helped me reconnect with myself, and it gave me it put a battery in my back. Like I can do it this time. I'm going to finish college all the way this time. I'm going to do this for me, and I'm going to do this for my kids, and I got this.